everyone! Welcome back to the Garden Sprout. I was taking a walk through the neighborhood today and noticed how many houses are just surrounded by big, boring, plain green bushes. If you are tired of trimming the same old green meatballs every summer, it is time for a serious upgrade. Today, I want to show you 7 spectacular flowering shrubs that are just as tough as your basic evergreens, but give you massive explosions of color. Let's dig up those boring green shrubs and plant these beauties instead. If you are tired of staring at a boring wall of plain green boxwoods, Hydrangea Firelight is the ultimate landscape upgrade. This incredible panicle hydrangea grows into a substantial, upright shrub reaching about 6 feet tall and wide. It completely transforms those dull green foundation plantings into a spectacular seasonal showcase. Unlike those fussy older hydrangeas, this modern variety blooms on new wood, so you never have to worry about late spring frosts ruining the show. It is incredibly cold hardy and surprisingly drought tolerant once the root system is fully established in your yard. You basically just give it a quick trim in early spring and let it do all the heavy lifting. By midsummer, it pushes out massive, football-sized flower heads that start out as a crisp, bright white. As the season cools down, those giant blooms slowly transition to a rich pomegranate red that lasts straight through the fall. You get months of brilliant changing color instead of just another static green bush sitting out in the yard. Ripping out an overgrown yew bush and replacing it with Weigela Sonic Bloom Pink will instantly modernize your front yard. This energetic shrub forms a beautiful arching mound that tops out right around 4 or 5 feet in both height and spread. It is the perfect mid-sized filler plant to use anywhere you currently have a completely forgettable green shrub. This plant is an absolute survivor that requires absolutely no complicated deadheading or tedious maintenance to keep it performing. It happily thrives in full sun and handles ordinary, unimproved garden soil without needing expensive fertilizers. The foliage stays clean and totally disease-free from the moment it pushes out in spring until it drops in winter. The real magic happens in late spring, when the entire plant erupts in a massive flush of bright, hot pink trumpet flowers. While older varieties stop blooming after a few weeks, this specific series continues to push out waves of fresh pink flowers all the way until the first frost. It turns a boring structural spot in your yard into a continuous, vibrant color factory. Double play Doozie Spiraea is the perfect modern replacement for those small, tired evergreen globes lining your walkways. It naturally grows into a tight, neat little mound that only gets about 2 to 3 feet tall and wide. You get that clean, manicured structural look you want without ever having to drag out the hedge clippers. What makes this variety truly revolutionary is that it is entirely seedless, meaning it never wastes energy producing annoying seed heads. Because it skips that reproductive stage, it pushes all of its power into constant growth and an unbelievable level of toughness. It ignores summer heat waves, laughs off dry soil, and requires absolutely zero pruning to maintain its perfect shape. In the spring, the new foliage emerges in striking shades of blazing deep red before eventually settling into a cool green. Shortly after, the entire canopy covers itself in glowing purplish-red flower clusters that simply do not know when to quit. Because it never sets seed, those vibrant blooms just keep refreshing themselves all summer long for a non-stop show. If you have a large space where a plain green arborvitae just died, swap it out for Ninebark Summer Wine instead. This fast-growing native shrub features gracefully arching branches that easily reach 5 to 6 feet tall and wide. It adds a powerful, dark structural element to the landscape that makes every single green plant around it look significantly brighter.
Ninebarks are notoriously indestructible and naturally adapt to almost any challenging soil condition you might have in your yard. It is completely unfazed by brutal winter freezes and stands up to harsh, baking summer winds with ease. You can plant it, water it deeply for the first season, and essentially ignore it for the rest of its long life. The foliage is a breathtaking, deep purple-black color that provides dramatic contrast from early spring all the way through autumn. In early summer, soft clusters of pinkish-white button-like flowers pop open beautifully against those incredibly dark leaves. It is a moody, sophisticated alternative to a basic green hedge that completely elevates the design of your entire property.
Standard green foundation shrubs offer absolutely nothing for local wildlife, but butterfly bush Miss Molly changes that completely. This compact, refined variety stays right around 4 to 5 feet tall, making it perfectly sized for normal residential flower beds. It completely replaces the need for boring structural bushes while adding an unbelievable amount of energy to your yard. Unlike older, aggressive butterfly bushes that grow into massive weeds, this newer variety stays incredibly neat and well-behaved. It thrives in the hottest, driest parts of your yard, where other flowering shrubs would simply crisp up and die. A quick, hard prune down to the ground every spring is the only maintenance it needs to maintain its perfect, rounded form. From midsummer through the fall, it produces huge, cone-shaped flower spikes in an incredibly rich, saturated magenta pink color. The sweet fragrance of these bright blooms is absolutely magnetic to hundreds of butterflies, hummingbirds, and beneficial bees. You are essentially swapping out a lifeless green lump for a vibrant, moving ecosystem right in your own front yard. Reblooming lilac Bloomerang is the ultimate excuse to finally dig up those ugly, overgrown green bushes blocking your windows. This neatly structured shrub grows into a handsome, rounded shape that typically reaches 4 to 6 feet in height. It provides the same solid visual weight as a traditional evergreen, but brings a massive sensory upgrade to your landscape. This modern lilac is bred to be remarkably disease-resistant, completely avoiding the powdery mildew that ruins older varieties. It loves full sun, handles neighborhood air pollution perfectly, and strongly resists browsing from local deer and rabbits. Once the roots are settled into well-draining soil, it requires virtually no babysitting to put on a spectacular yearly show. The classic sweet lilac fragrance fills your entire yard during its massive, heavy flush of dark purple flowers in mid-spring. After taking a brief rest during the peak heat of summer, it actually pushes out a second wave of blooms in the fall. Getting 2 distinct seasons of gorgeous purple flowers and incredible scent makes plain green bushes seem completely pointless. When you want to inject late-season drama where a boring green shrub currently sits, Bluebeard Beyond Midnight is the perfect choice. This tidy, low-mounding shrub forms a beautiful dome of glossy foliage that only grows about 2 to 3 feet tall. It is the ideal size to anchor the front of your perennial borders or neatly line a sunny walkway. This is a fiercely resilient plant that actively thrives in hot, sunny spots with very sharp, fast-draining soil. It is incredibly drought-resistant once established, and rarely suffers from any pest or disease issues throughout the growing season. You just cut it back by about half in late winter, and it naturally grows back into a perfect, dense sphere. While most of your garden is winding down in late August, this shrub suddenly explodes into a dazzling display of deep cobalt blue flowers. The incredibly rich blue coloring is very rare in the late summer landscape and creates an amazing contrast against fading green foliage. It is an absolute magnet for late-season pollinators, turning a quiet corner of your yard into a buzzing, vibrant focal point. There is absolutely no reason to settle for boring, plain green bushes when you can have these incredible flowering shrubs in your yard instead. Swapping out just 1 or 2 of those old evergreens will completely change the way your house looks from the street. Get out to your local nursery this weekend and see if you can find some of these gorgeous upgrades. Thanks for taking a walk through the garden with me today. Go get your hands dirty, and I will see you in the next video.